Hi, everyone. I hope that you are having a very happy Saturday. This is JJ. I am the president of the El Paso Young Democrats, but more importantly, I am a very proud American today. And I am incredibly, I think like everybody across the country, I just feel very energized today and feel very lucky to be living in this country, especially after these last 4 years. But I want to thank you for joining us today. Today is not, so much about the next president or vice president, as wonderful as that is, but today is really about our democracy and what it means to have a democracy in the United States. We have seen for the past few days a president that has continuously undermined or hopes to undermine the will of the American people in states, not just in Texas, as our governor often does, but in Nevada, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin. So intent on first not conceding, but also intent on staying in power. And so we are gathering today over Zoom, but also in person to make sure and to let El Pasoans know that we will not stand for it and that we will ensure that the next president, rightfully elected president, is inaugurated and that he will and his vice president will lead in the years to come. And so I am thrilled to be joined by some great people that have worked to organize this rally, two of which we're going to be speaking today. But I want to also acknowledge the organizers of today's event, Graciela Blandon, Janine Carden, Saul Fontes, Daisy Gomez, Margie, Dominique Huerta, Jesus Ramos, and Don Vigil. Thank you all so much for your work and your activism in putting this together. We are always indebted to you for everything that you do. And with that, I want to introduce our first speaker. Kira Robinson is a local advocate, and she is the founder of Read Volutionary, which is a mobile and digital library initiative which compiles anti-racist and multicultural books for all ages. Kira brings her library all over town at community events and encourages El Pasoans to take and donate books that help us understand ourselves and each other better, something I think that is so important, especially now in this moment. So Kira, I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you for being here today.
Hello, thank you, JJ. I just wanted to thank first the El Paso Young Democrats and for Gracie for reaching out to me and allowing me to speak today. I have been living in El Paso my whole life, born and raised. I've been here 22 years. Today, I am going to speak about the importance of the political development in El Paso, what is at stake for us right now, and how we can keep doing good after the election, well, now that Joe Biden has won. So I wanted to start off by just showing so much appreciation for El Pasoans, and we really showed out and showed up to the polls. But 254,576 El Pasoans voted for president, but only 206,886 voted for our mayor. So, as I am grateful that we showed up to the polls and voted in our presidential race, it is not only important to show up to the ballot, but to show out as well. And voting in every single race is just as important as the presidential race. And our votes do matter. We are fighting for our votes to matter in our presidential election. They definitely matter in our local elections more than anything. So that is 47,609 that did not vote for the mayor race. And that was the first race on the ballot. So it is hard for me to understand how it was skipped, for a lack of a better word. And as we care about our democracy, we also have to care about our local democracy, which means that we have to make a conscious effort to educate ourselves about all candidates and what they are for, more than just name recognition, more than just a commercial. So we currently are having a mayor runoff, December 12th, between two candidates who I will not speak on at the moment because I am a little emotional about that results, and I do not have anything productive or positive to say about that at the moment. But I just wanted to let everybody know that our mayor is in charge of developing plans and policy for our city managers and executing it for our staff. So please make sure that you look into both candidates. Make sure you look into what the mayor is in charge of. We currently have 24,562 active COVID cases and 661 confirmed deaths. Now, everyone that I've seen talking about the deaths have been a little, I don't know the word I'm looking for, I'm sorry. They have been skeptical about the deaths because they are not coming in like we expect them to. That is simply because it takes longer to confirm deaths and confirm that they are from COVID. So now I'm going to move on to what is at stake for us. I'm trying to hold myself back, and I wanted to be as unapologetically myself as possible. But both candidates that are running for mayor have little to no plan for COVID for us. And so right now that our voices matter, we need to demand one from them. We need to demand that they provide us with plans and policy before December 12th. Now, how can we keep doing good work after our election? So, as JJ mentioned earlier in my introduction, I do have a mobile library called Revolutionary. And tomorrow I am going to be going live reading a children's book called The Day the Crayons Quit by Drew Daywalt. And basically, the crayons feel used and abused by their owner. And so they write letters to him, and they all write letters telling him how they feel, how they think things can change, and all the letters get sent to their kid Duncan, and he essentially makes a change. And it's just to teach children that their voices matter and how to use them. And the same way that it seems silly that little crayons are writing letters to their child, these letters will work. Write your city council members, call them, email them, call your mayor, write him, email him. Know who your city council member is. Know who's in charge of your district. There are some runoffs in your districts as well. Learn about those candidates. And I don't want to seem classist or elitist and just telling you to go educate yourself. It was heartbreaking for me to be at the polls and to see so many people and to speak to so many people who had no plan on voting for anything on the ballot other than the president. And I had given one man in particular lit. I showed him the points of that candidate and their main ideas. And I told him, I was like, their line's going fast, but you have time. You're here, you're standing in line, you have time to Google an example of the ballot. You have time to Google people on the candidates and make a decision, make a conscious decision, an educated choice instead of name recognition. So another thing that we can keep doing is to keep fighting for our Black Lives Matter and our Black community in El Paso. I feel like the energy is not where it was in the beginning of the summer. And I hear a lot of, oh, racism doesn't happen in El Paso. We're okay. Like it doesn't exist here. And as much as I love El Paso, we are very privileged and we do live in our bubble and we are the majority. So we don't experience it as often. But just because we are not white and being racist does not mean that it is not racism. And the microaggressions are still microaggressions. And the xenophobia here is very real. And the xenophobia that we know caused or inspired the terroristic attack on us on August 3rd, 2019. We also had another I'm telling myself not to filter myself, but just how I feel. We also had another a journalistic terrorist article posted by Erica Castillo, October 28th, 2020. Her article is titled "Whistleblower Says El Paso Ambulances Are Picking Up COVID-19 Patients." The article was not true. Half truth is not the truth. And they were El Pasoans, they were citizens, they were Americans who had every right to call an ambulance and pick them up at the bridge. And it is very harmful and very dangerous to just write things and not have it sourced and be very opinionated and very racist. It isn't like that is not El Paso strong of us at all. And so we need to hold not only our city council members and our mayors and our local democracy, but our journalists to these same standards as well, because they are taking a part in this racism. And so I just ask that everyone do some soul searching in these next steps and figure out what you want and what you need and what you feel is important to you. And then take the next step to speak to your family members and your friends and your neighbors and to figure out what they like, what they want, what hurts them, what will help them. And then figure out what candidates align with those things rather than looking at the candidates and seeing what they like, what they're for, and deciding on that. So that's all that I ask. And I do want to appreciate everybody for showing up to the polls. And thank you, El Paso Young Democrats.
Absolutely. And thank you for those words. As you said, and I think that just the most important point in all this is today is a day of celebration, but tomorrow is a day of getting to work. Because you're absolutely right. There is so much work that needs to be done here in El Paso. And I'm so grateful for you for being on the front lines of it and for our next speaker as well, who's also on the front lines of this. And so it is my great honor to also introduce Dynasty Manglona, who is the social media director of the El Paso Black El Paso Voice, and who has been in El Paso for the past 10 years. She is a rising young leader who has been active this election season, who has hosted panels on the Black Roundtable, which have been awesome. I've watched, I think, every single one of them, and has moderated them for city council races and for the mayoral race as well, and interested in studying journalism and the career paths to continue serving the El Paso community. So thank you for being here, and the time is yours.
Thank you, JJ. Thank you, Young Democrats. First of all, Kiara, great, inspiring speech. Everything that you said, I personally identify with. So thank you for that, ma'am. Hello, my name is Dynasty Manglona. I am here to represent the Black El Paso Voice. That is a nonpartisan news media outlet here in El Paso. You can find us on all social media platforms. And of course, I want to thank the Young Democrats for putting this on and for this opportunity. But today, I want to talk to everyone and focus on something that affects all of us, regardless of race, socioeconomic background, or political affiliation. Let's talk about the power of the vote. And, you know, I think this year more than ever, people are realizing that our vote has so much power to it. I'm actually here at the car caravan and everybody is excited here and the energy is high. And voting is not easy, and it's a process right now that's not meant to be easy for everyone. And so everyone who made it out to the ballots, everyone who did research their candidates on those ballots and made an educated choice, everyone who risked going out in the midst of a global pandemic to uphold our democracy, I just want to say thank you. And thank you for making the effort and showing up. And I think more than ever, people really focused on registering people to vote this year, which was amazing. People were out, for hours at a time and just letting them know that they do have the opportunity to register to vote. It's not for a certain class of people. It's not for a certain person that looks like someone else, but it's for everyone here in America. And that's the most important part of our democracy. And I just want to say, of course, we're talking about the power of vote, but just like you guys are saying, the congratulations and the excitement of today that we were actually able to name our president-elect and vice president-elect Biden and Harris. And, you know, just as a Black woman, what that meant to see that in the news, in the headlines everywhere, what that meant as a biracial Black woman for me, to see another biracial Black woman who can represent both sides of her, who, you know, both her Black side and her Indian immigrant mother, and just how amazing that is, and in the historical context of the world that we're living in right now. You know, we're making history every day, just by making sure our voice is heard, just by making sure that we are having our voice heard, and letting other people know that they should have their voice heard. So I want to encourage everyone, keep working hard, keep researching, and keep vigilant, because the fight is not over. You know, this is a win for the battle of the soul of America, but it is definitely not a win for everyone yet. We're still working, you know, to make sure that equal representation matters, make sure that El Paso voice matters. Voices matters here in our city, in our county government, making sure that we know when city council meetings are happening so that we can be involved in those, making sure that, you know, things aren't just happening under our noses and we just accept it. We need to make sure that we have an active part in the democracy of El Paso, of Texas, of the United States. And I know there was a big push for having Texas get the majority vote for Biden, but that push doesn't stop here. Even though we lost this battle, you know, we keep going on. We keep talking to our friends and family across the state about why it's important to register to vote, why it's important to vote, why it's important to make sure you know who you're voting for, and not just voting for a certain party. And I just want to commend Kiara for having those facts on hand, because it's true. People did skip the mayoral race here in El Paso. And I also am not here to, you know, say my personal opinion on the candidates, but the push for change, we saw that it can happen here in El Paso, right? We saw that there are 45,000 people, or 50,000 plus people who want change here in El Paso, who aren't okay with the standard and the status quo that we've accepted for these past years. And so for everyone who fought to have our voices heard, thank you. To everyone who spent hours and hours researching who they were going to vote for and had a voting plan with their family and friends, thank you. To everyone who really made an effort to have their voices heard this election that hadn't thought of having that opportunity before, thank you. I heard so many stories of how this was the first time that, you know, my aunties and uncles who are 40, 50 and plus, this is their first time voting in their lifetime, because it was so important to them, that they had an impact in making a change here in the United States. So thank you all. And like Kara said, it doesn't stop here. Like JJ says, it doesn't stop here. You know, we still have our runoff election here in El Paso. You want to stay vigilant to what the candidates are saying from now until that runoff election, and reassuring us what their plans are. We want to make sure that for the next election that's coming up, that it might not be a presidential election, but it still matters. You know, those the people that are going into office, they get real power and they represent who they think that we are, but we need to make sure that they know that they represent who we are as El Pasoans, as Texans, as Americans. And I just want to thank you all for tuning in today. Hopefully we're able to make it out for the car caravan. It's going to be awesome. And to everyone, just as misinformation comes in, make sure that you're fact checking, make sure that you're not allowing yourself or your friends and family to feed into the fear of not letting democracy reign, because democracy is bigger than our president right now, right? It's all of us, and it's supposed to represent us and who we are as the people of America. And so just stay patient, stay vigilant, And thank you guys for this opportunity. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And thank you both for your activism again. So much love and respect for both of you for everything that you do. And listen, everybody, we have gathered in the park and doing this online because we know and we all recognize that as much as today is a good day, there is no candidate, there is no president, there is no political party that saves our communities. It is on each of us as individuals and as people and as El Pasoans to show up for each other. It's not going to be up to any party or any one candidate or any one person to do it. It's up to us. And so that's why we show up. That's why we're doing this right now. And so I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I'm going to turn it over for some instructions and some administrative things to Janelle, who has been organizing this with everybody else. So take it away.
Thank you guys. And thank you so much to our speakers, Kira and Dynasty. Like, I just want to echo before I get into the housekeeping stuff, what has been said already. Kira, you're absolutely right. We need to be focused on our local elections just as much as we are focused on the presidential. Sometimes our local elections, in many cases, have more of an impact on our daily lives than the presidential. I mean, they're all important, right? So let's be real. Like, and it is so, it's so important that you find out about the candidates. So I really appreciate your words on that. And Dynasty, thank you so much. The power of the vote is so strong and so important. And it's so exciting to see the record turnout that we've seen in El Paso, in Texas, and across the nation. But just as JJ said, the work is not over. We have how many people living in El Paso? And I think just under 500,000 people that are registered voters, right? So we need to continue to educate. We need to continue to organize. Just because the election, has stopped on a bigger scale, we still have the runoffs. And not only the mayoral, we have lots of city council races also in runoff that are very, very important. But we need to continue to organize in our communities. We need to continue to educate people on how to vote and how to register to vote. And I know as I think we've all been involved in some sort of election during this cycle and talking to people. And I've made a lot of phone calls and I've spoken to a lot of people that they were so grateful that we reached out to them to help them make a plan to vote because they were too embarrassed to ask for help because they thought they should already know how to vote. So important to have those conversations about voting and making sure everybody in your network is registered to vote, knows how to vote, and how important it is to vote. So thank you, everybody. So now on to some housekeeping issues. So as you guys have already received, you've received the route map. We're gonna go ahead and caravan and make our way to the El Paso County Courthouse. We're gonna kind of circle around it, ending on Campbell Street. From there, because of lockdown, we are asking that we don't congregate. Obviously, we wanna enjoy the drive and it's COVID times. El Paso is in a serious pandemic extreme. We're kind of like epicenter right now. So we really need to make sure that we are being safe and that we do not congregate. So thank you so much. Thanks for maintaining your social distancing within your own vehicles and for coming out. So just make sure when you finish the route that you go ahead and head home and we don't congregate. And again, just wear your mask and stay in your vehicle so that we don't break any lockdown rules. The other thing is if you do take any pictures, this is kind of a fun part of it. If you do take any pictures, please go ahead. We've put some hashtags to attach if you post on social media. But the other one to add is the people have spoken. Another note, please be mindful of all traffic rules and speed limits. We are not the other side. We are not like the fellow, like the Trumpers that exist. We are not there to cause havoc. We are there to express our voice and express our excitement and express also that the people have spoken and we want Trump to step down. We want him to concede, but we don't want to be rude to our community members either. So please obey all traffic rules and speed limits. If there is an emergency, please call 911. And I think that's all of my announcements. Just want to thank everybody and JJ in particular for handling all of this technical stuff. And then JJ, were you going to go through the list of thank yous? or should I?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
I'll
I can
hand that
happily
over
go
to
through
you.
that.
So thank you, everybody, one last time.
Absolutely. And so I want to, of course, give a huge shout out to all of you who have been putting this together for our democracy and really for our city to know that we will not stand for anything but the um, the correct conclusion of this election. And so again, I want to just shout out Graciela Blandon, who is awesome organizer here in El Paso and does so much great work. Janelle Carden, thank you, who just spoke. So thank you for doing this with us. So Fontes, Daisy, Gomez, and Dominique Huerta, who are all board members of the El Paso Young Democrats. So much love for you all. Margie Catalindi, who has done so much work as well, Jesus Ramos, and Don Vigil. Thank you all for your activism and for your continued work in our communities, and to all of the organizations that continue to do so much work here in El Paso. This fight is going to continue because of all of you and because of these organizations that put in the work. So much love to you all. Thank you so much. Stay safe out there, and let's keep fighting. There's so much more to do.